This is a short introduction and guide to setting up the Morgan block. Morgan block is built for 1/2 inch rope. It is intended for light to medium duty rigging. A 300-pound load should be pretty easily manageable with one person on the control end of the rope. More is manageable with additional friction from something else like a porter wrap or a trunk wrap at the base of the tree. The working load is safe working load is right around 550, 600 pounds. So be careful adding friction in addition to the block itself. The block opens, closes, swivels, rotates, so it self-orients towards the load. It self-closes when loaded with the rope, so there's no latching mechanism on it. Simply loading the rope into it will hold it closed. The main way that it is rigged is hung in the tree at the point of rigging. Your load end, which would be the tape in this example, comes over from the left between the two fixed points, top and bottom here. This one would be the fair lead, this would be the fixed bollard. On the back side, this is the pivoting bollard or the main bollard. The rope would go between or under the main bollard, over the top of that bollard, and then under the fair lead, and that pulls it closed. Your load end is here, coming out the bottom at the pointy end. The control end is coming out underneath the fair lead and on top of the pivoting or main bollard. In this configuration, it's going to hold the most weight for any given resistance force on the control end. It's going to yard line out and back fairly easily. If you are not resisting the load is going to run. If you resist the load, it will activate and it will provide friction and holding power to help you hold the load. The other way to load it, if you're rigging a lot of light loads or you have a very tall tree and a lot of tail rope weight holding the line, giving you more friction than you want, you can simply take your control end and feed it over the top of the fair lead. In this configuration, the rope angle is less extreme, so you're getting less bend in the rope, for one. For two, you're on top of the fair lead, and that's preventing the pinching action from activating as easily or with as much leverage on the main bollard, so you're not getting as much friction from the main bollard. And two, when you pull the rope back, it tips the entire device up and relieves this S-bend in the bottom here. And what that does is it makes yarding the rope back easier. It makes lowering lighter loads easier. And it makes pulling slack from the control end when the load is on the ground and you want to untie the knot. You got, 6 pounds of rope, 8 pounds, 10 pounds of rope on the other end. It can be hard in the main configuration, so this one gives less friction, makes that easier. Another way to load this is if you want almost no friction at all, say you're only using it as a redirect, you can load it simply over the top of the main bollard and over the top of the fair lead. And in this configuration, you're not activating any friction other than the friction of just simply running over the bollard itself. And in this configuration, it still holds itself shut. Now, if you run under this fair lead, that also works. Although if your line angle is out more horizontally, it might bend the rope there and give you more friction than you want. You could also run into a problem where this might open it up unintentionally. So you want to be over the top of the fair lead, over the top of the bollard if you're going for the least friction here. If you're tempted to do it just over this bottom bollard, don't do that. There's nothing holding it closed in that configuration, so not a great idea. There's another way to use this, which would be to, if you're going to pull, you can use it as a sort of an inline 3-to-1 help you hold the pull kind of device. And you would fix the attachment somewhere along your pull line. I'll use an Alpine butterfly, and then I'll just girth hitch it through the eye here to attach it to the middle of the line. And then you'll go back to your anchor point and back up and around and load it as though you were trying to do this over top of the fair lead scenario here. And so now what you've got is you pull on your end, on your control end, and then this would be going back to your anchor pulley and then coming back up to the midpoint attachment and then off to your load or whatever you're trying to pull. So when you pull on this end, you're gonna be pulling tension into the system. This is going to be kind of tipping up and relieving this S bend, and then when you hold it, it's going to be giving you friction to kind of keep that pull. And that setup is kind of nice for pulling over small trees and such. You need a little bit of mechanical advantage, but not a whole lot. And it's nice to be able to hold that tension without really having to lean into it too hard. Kind of helps you hold it. Other than that, you can use this rather than positioning it in the tree at your rigging point. You could also sling this to the base of the tree and use it in the place of a porter wrap with the standard rope configuration in it. This fair lead acts to keep the rope running around the bollard in the optimal way. So this would be slung to the base of the tree, and then this would be going up the tree to a block or X-ring or whatever you're rigging off of in the tree, and then you'd be using this control end to control the load from the ground. But this is mostly intended to be hung in the tree and used as your main and only rigging. One ground guy can control the load. The climber can take over the load from the ground guy, finish lowering it from in the tree. One ground guy can handle the load on the ground, untie the brush, drag it, whatever he needs to do with it. Frees up a lot of hands. It's also really nice when maybe you can't get at the base of the tree to attach a rigging device like a porter wrap or a GRCS. Maybe there's poison oak or poison ivy and you don't want to get into it. Maybe there's a fence or a hill or all kinds of different scenarios. Having this rigging in the tree with the swivel makes it so that your ground guy can be standing anywhere he needs to be, out of the way, away from the base of the tree, doesn't need to move back and forth in and out of the landing zone. It gives him just a lot more freedom to be in a safe place. And as well as he can move in and control the load with one hand while guiding the limb coming down with the other, or if the climber's taking over the rope, he can use both hands, guide the limb down. into the landing zone. So anyway, that is the Morgan block. I'd love to know what ropes seem to work well. I would love to get any feedback on maybe any problem areas you see, anything that jumps out. Would you use this on a regular basis? Does it seem like it's useful? Does it seem like, I don't know, something that would be worthwhile? Anyhow, there it is. Cheers.